silently. Would the rest of us take 1 minute in silence to be here together?
Thank you very much. My name is Marian Culhane, and I have the privilege of being the Mistress of Ceremonies this evening. And I'd like to begin by
Introducing the director of the conference, the man whose vision this conference has been, who has held this vision for the past 2 years. He is Dr. Abelardo Brenes. Abelardo is a native Costa Rican and an international citizen. He has studied with shamans in the Andes and the Amazon. He has lived in the United States, and he got his doctorate in psychology at the University of Birmingham in England. He is the father of 3 children and married to a beautiful woman by the name of Ophelia. He teaches at the University of Costa Rica and has a private clientele. And those of us who have been working with him over the past few months have come to know him as a deeply spiritual person, kind, caring, gracious, gentle, who truly is a demonstration of one who is seeking the meaning of peace. We have come to love him and respect him deeply. And would all of you join me in welcoming Dr. Abelardo Brenes, the person who has brought us all together.
It is truly a great blessing for all of us to be together. I thank the Spirit that has been guiding us. That was not planned. Hans, did you plan that? I wish to welcome you also to Costa Rica, my country, the home of the University for Peace, a university which is a living network of committed citizens all around the world. And the home of the university is its living laboratory. We also see Costa Rica, I personally, as a place of the heart, a place where North and South have met from immemorial times. It's a place where nature has been very bountiful and where we are very grateful, but sometimes also, as in other places, we forget about this. It's a place where we are trying to discover what the true meaning of peace is about, what the true meaning of development is about for human beings. So we welcome each and every one of you who have come from far, from all lands, every region on the planet. We know many of you have made very many great efforts. It's been very difficult to get here. The wonderful staff who have been working together with me have joined in wanting for you to have a very deep experience of the spirit of our country. We want you to be here as happy as possible so that we can take care of one another, and by learning about the spirit of cooperation, we can, in our small family today, model the traditions of cooperation that have been part of our national heritage, but which we are too beginning to lose sometimes. And so we all come here together to remember why it is that we need it so urgently to transform our own beings, to manifest fully the passion of peace. The original vision of this conference came in 1987. I was deeply inspired by by Pope John Paul II's message of peace, the 1st of January, 1987, when he said, "North, south, east, west, one single vision of peace must come to prevail on this planet." I have since been meditating very deeply on the meaning of North and South, and on the meaning of East and West. Here in Costa Rica, these polarities meet. This is also the center of a geopolitical hurricane. What I have come to understand in my own heart is that the key to the resolution of the East-West polarity, which in my understanding essentially has to do with the balance of the uniqueness and the celebration of each and every individual on the planet, and the freedom to express the fullness of her or his being as a unique and wonderful expression of the creation, and the deep well-being and sharing of the collective of life, the family of humankind and the family of humankind and nature. Here in the South, these principles of sharing are still very much alive, particularly in those peoples whose voice has been suppressed for many centuries. And this week we will have an opportunity to initiate a cycle of new dialogue as we approach 1992, and we meditate together on the meaning of this next cycle, and we know that we need to desperately to listen to all those peoples who are practicing and hold the values of sustainability. So in my understanding, the key to the resolution of the East-West polarity, namely the balance between the uniqueness and the freedom of the individual and the well-being of the collective, will be found in the balance and the resolution of the polarity of the North and the South. Many of you come from the North. Many of you share deep concerns. You bring with you great visions and much expertise and technological means. In a way, the peoples of the North are representing the mind of the planet. Here in the South, we hold the key to the survival of the planet, the wellspring of life. In each and every one of us, these polarities are being reproduced. The North, the mind, needs desperately to listen to the body, the South. On another level, deeper level, each and every one of us are seeking to heal the split between consciousness and matter. Some might say the spirit and the body, so that we can sense and know that there is one life, one light, one solar consciousness that is beating pulsating deeply within each. Many of these thoughts have been articulated in the Declaration of Human Responsibilities for Peace and Sustainability, which has been drafted by a joint committee of the University for Peace and the Foreign Ministry of the Government of Costa Rica. We have received many wonderful suggestions from many of you. We have tried to incorporate them. This will be an instrument of work during this week, and we have been informed that the government of Costa Rica will present this declaration to the next United Nations General Assembly. Our task at this moment, this is a document, just words, but I know that this week this document will take on a great life of its own. And you that are here, we are to work together. Each has a very unique contribution to make. We are to work together to experience ourselves as a global family. We will develop visions, strategies, and seeds of projects so that the spirit of love, of oneness, of the universal responsibility of each and every one of us to find our own inner peace, to develop our own unique universal potential to its highest, this spirit will be shared with all other beings on this planet. So again, I thank you for coming, and we will be here together, and we will endeavor to do everything we can so that we will all benefit together for the sake of everyone else that needs our inspiration, and we will together endeavor to share and find the true meaning of peace. Thank you.
To introduce to you the staff of volunteers that have been behind the scenes working on this conference. I know a lot of them actually are not present in the room because they're still so busy working, but those who are here, I would like to have stand when I say your name. And we are especially introducing you to these people so you know the area that they are responsible for if you have any questions. So, of course, the conference director is Abelardo Brenes. The program coordinator is Hans Lutz. Hans,
The assistant to the program coordinator is Claudia Saucy. The coordinator of public relations, fundraising, general services, and
the person who's been responsible for general services is Eric Chacon. The coordinator of logistics in charge of facilities, hotels, and registrations is Maria Felicia Vargas. The person who has been coordinating registration and hotels is Helga Steinworth. And assisting her with this and in charge of hospitality is Susanna Ramsey. The people coordinating volunteers are Michael Moore and Ches Liley. Person who has responsibility for planning and organization, Janny Ashmore. The assistant to Abelardo Brenes has been Sasha White, and assisting her is Betty Kislov. The people working the executive secretarial services are Vicky Carrazzo and Sylvia Cruz. The person handling computer services and printing is Sarah Blanchett. The person in charge of reception is Marta Paez. Press coordination has been handled by John McFall. The children's program has been overseen by Gail Nystrom. And I have been handling the working groups and facilitation. Thank you very much. Our next presenter, oh no, first we have some music. We are going to now have the privilege of hearing a leading Costa Rican flautist. Her name is Tatiana Johanning. She has performed with the Chicago Symphony, and she will be performing in the next season with the Costa Rican Symphony. And tonight she will be performing for us the Allemande of the Partita in A minor by Johann Sebastian Bach.
Well, first I want to clear something. I never have played with the Chicago Symphony. I would like one. No, I was studying there with the Kujan.
Presenter this evening is Dr. Elizabeth Sartoris from Greece. She is an American Greek philosopher of evolution and an international speaker with a Canadian doctorate in physiological psychology. She did her postdoctoral fellowship in evolutionary brain development at the American Museum of Natural History in New York. She has taught at MIT and the University of Minnesota and was a science writer for public television, invited to China as a guest of the Chinese Natural Science Organization, and co-authored a book entitled China, Science Walks on Two Legs. Her most recent book is entitled Gaia, The Human Journey from Chaos to Cosmos, and it was released this past April. She has lived and worked independently in Greece since 1979, where she founded the International Institute for the Environment and Earth Celebrations 2000 Greece. Elizabeth Sartoris carries Gaia in her cells. She is a biologist, an environmentalist, a spokesperson for the knowingness that the Earth is a living system, to be protected as a part of an interdependent system of which we are all a part. I'd like to do a brief telling of last night. I met Elizabeth in the lobby, and I told her I would like to speak with her for a moment more to get more background information, and she soon invited me to her room and told me that we would have a little ouzo because she knew it was the greatest mood elevator she was aware of, and she quickly prepared guacamole on the spot. And when I left, not only was my mood greatly elevated, but I had come to realize what a warm, articulate, intelligent, and dear human being Elizabeth Sartoris is. It's with a great deal of pleasure that I introduce her.
I could extend that kind of Greek Costa Rican hospitality to all of you. It is a very great pleasure to be here again, my second visit to Costa Rica, which is a breathtakingly beautiful country and is at a crossroads, as Dr. Brenes told us, between north-south, east-west, as I believe Greece also is. And because of that, I feel a very special relationship, Don Rodrigo knows it well, with this country, and hope that in the future we will continue to work together with universities for peace and for the environment. The great mythologer Joseph Campbell, who many of you have seen his series before his sad death on television, called for a myth for our times. He said this myth must be a myth of the whole planet and not of just one place on the planet, a myth of all humanity and not just one ethnic group. I read this shortly after I finished my book, and I felt that my book was, in a way, that kind of a contribution, because in the course of writing it, first for kindergartners, then for grade school children, then I worked my way up to junior high, and finally wrote the grown-up book. The reason I started for children was because you have to make sure you know what you're talking about when you write for children. So it was good practice to undo all the wordiness of science and all the great separation of science to develop a coherent story. And I say, in the course of writing the book, it seemed to me that humanity is now in adolescent crisis. Half ego, believing it knows how to run spaceship Earth, and half anxiety about its own survival. The classic joke about a young person growing up is when the young person leaves home for a few years and then comes back home and says to the parents, "Gee, you people learned a lot while I was gone." And the joke, of course, is that it wasn't the parents who changed, but the young person, who before had been exploiting the parents and not able to listen to their wisdom, and had now come to the stage where he could appreciate their experience and their wisdom. And it seems to me that humanity is now on the brink of maturity and will grow up when it can turn back to the parent planet and respect its 4.5 billion years of experience, at least 3.5 billion of which were spent in the process of coming alive, of developing workable living systems from which we have so much to learn. While I'm on the subject of myth, many of you know, of course, that the ancient myth of Gaia's dance has become a modern scientific proposal that the Earth is a living planet. In the ancient myth, the Earth actually develops from the body of Gaia in her dance, the moisture pouring from her body to form the seas, her flying arms stirring up the wind, which she calls Uranos, which is still today the word for sky, as the word for earth in Greek is Yi from Ye, or Yea, the ancient name of Gaia. In the modern version of the myth, things happen pretty much in the same sequence. And I owe the story not only to James Lovelock and Lynn Margulis, who were the first scientists to speak of the Gaia hypothesis, but also to Vladimir Vernadsky, the Soviet scientist, who did a great deal to show us that life is a transformation of non-life, that life and non-life like the complementarities of physics we know as energy and matter, or waves and particles. I believe that life and non-life will be the next great complementarity when we recognize that life is just a repackaging of rock, and rock is another form of life, which is a transient stage always, and cycles again and again. In the story of our planet's coming to life, the Earth's crust, under the impact of the sun, packages itself literally into bacteria, which become so numerous and widespread that they are literally the essence of life on this planet, then as they are now. In the workshops or in later talks, I'll be able to go into a little more detail on this story, but I want to leave you with one impression tonight, that billions of years ago, the bacteria were going through something very like what we people are going through today. They had already discovered all the basic ways of making a living, which are by fermentation, I call those the bubblers, by using solar energy to manufacture their own energy, which are the photosynthesizers, I like to call those the blue-greens, and the ones who finally discovered how to turn that terrible gas oxygen that the blue-green bacteria began to manufacture, which is a deadly poisonous gas, into a useful gas by discovering respiration, which is a matter of smashing up molecules that you can use to make your own energy by breaking them with this nasty gas oxygen. And these I call the breathers. So the bubblers, the blue-greens, and the breathers, now you remember from your 8th grade biology, had discovered all the ways of making a living. But they ran into crises, into food shortages, and they began bacterial imperialism, in which smaller energetic bacteria invaded big, slower bacteria, literally to suck them dry, to use up the molecules inside them to promote their own life. And they did well at this. They multiplied within the walls of the larger bacteria, expanding them, but eventually it was a dead-end game, because once they used up the hosts, there was nowhere to go, and the colonies tended to die out. Somewhere along the way, the bacteria worked out a division of labor, whereby little energetic breathers could attach themselves to the outside of the wall, being fed molecules through it, but wiggling the big enterprise along until it got into the light, where the blue-greens could manufacture food using solar energy, and the fermenters worked inside on the food produced by the blue-greens. And so they worked out a division of labor that was very cooperative. And each of them gave up some of their DNA plans to a central nucleus, which is the equivalent of a brain in later multicelled animals. And a larger cell developed from this cooperative venture. This larger cell, on the average 1,000 times bigger than a bacterial cell, is the basis of all life forms on this planet except for the bacteria. And the bacteria, of course, still survive inside them. Half of your weight is made up of the descendants of ancient bacteria, which are in all your cells, making your energy night and day. We are all big bacterial colonies, and some scientists are beginning to joke that maybe we're just a vehicle for them to get around in safely. It does us good to think in these terms, to be a little more humble about our position within the life of Earth. This is not a geological ball upon which life happened by accident. It's a planet that came alive, and we are all part of this one living entity. This is a little slow to catch on in science because there are vested interests in keeping biology and physics and other sciences separate, and all the textbooks will have to be rewritten as they begin to understand this. But when we understand it deeply, it will fundamentally change our worldview. We will not believe that we can fly spaceship Earth. We will understand that all our knowledge and technology is not sufficient to be able to do the job that our livers do, or that our body in general does, in every waking moment. And we will then gain little respect as being the newest experiment in freedom, which must find its own limits and ethical guidance, to to fit itself into this larger entity that is our Earth, Gaia.
Thank you, Elizabeth. It is my pleasure now to introduce our next speaker, Barbara Marx Hubbard. Barbara is one of the most remarkable human beings I know. She seems to be literally encoded with an evolutionary pattern or design of which we are all a part. I've heard Barbara speak more than 50 times, and every time I'm entranced. It's like I'm hearing it for the first time, and something awakens more deeply within me, a greater knowingness. She has some special gift for helping all of us uncode our own DNA, our own piece in this larger pattern. Her own journey began in a very deep way in 1966 when she had an experience of being truly a cell in Gaia. She had the experience of being gasping for breath, feeling the overpopulation and the problems that our planet is now experiencing. Buckminster Fuller has referred to her in the past as the person on the planet who knows more about the future than any other human being. She no longer refers to herself as a futurist, however, because the time at last has arrived. We are now in the present of this time that she has been predicting for the last 20 years. Hence, we are all here together tonight. She, in the late 1960s and early 70s, put on more than 15 SynCons, synergistic convergences, which were gatherings of divergent peoples to come together to learn to talk to one another and work with one another. And she has been calling for these gatherings ever since. She is the author of several books, The Evolutionary Journey, the Manual for Co-Creators of the Quantum Leap, and most recently, out just in the past couple of weeks, is her autobiography, The Hunger of Eve. She's the mother of 5 children, and she and our next speaker, Rama Vernon, co-directed the Soviet American Citizen Summit, which was held in February of 1988, a highly successful conference bringing together Soviet and American leadership, and it will be followed this October in Moscow. In 1983 and 84, she ran for the vice presidency of the United States, and her name was placed in nomination at the Democratic Convention. I could go on and on about Barbara. She's a colleague. She's a co-founder of Global Family and a director of Planet Live. She is a dear friend. She is a demonstration of the change, and it is with the deepest respect and love that I present to you Barbara Marx Hubbard.
Thanks so much, Marion. And it's such a joy to speak after you, Elizabeth, because I have always felt myself to be a cell in the body. And to have someone come along and describe the body and give us the basis out of which we are now acting to consciously form ourselves as part of the body is a perfect 1-2 act. And this conference is the 3rd act, really, because we're going to be experiencing ourselves as a living body. What we have studied as scientists, what we have predicted as futurists, what we have theorized about is now happening among us. And one way of looking at this is if you take recent history, not going all the way back to the cosmos, I've always believed that the great religions of all human cultures are actually a code of the next stage of evolution. And that there have come into the culture of every part of the human race individuals who pre-experienced for the rest of us what it is like to experience ourselves as one. And even though we have not been able to live it through as society yet, the template, the pattern, the code, the expectation, the anticipation, and the knowing of it is in every one of us. Not only is it there because we came from stardust and it's in our cells, it's also coded in our religions. Our cultures are built on it. And from my point of view, we are at that very moment in history where what we have prepared for is about to happen. And the element in our preparation that has always kept us from fulfilling the code has been one fundamental problem. And that one problem is the illusion that we're separate from each other, from nature, and from the whole creation. No matter what we have done, that seed of separation has grown alongside the awareness of wholeness. And when we got more powerful, the seed of separation also got more powerful. And when we got more sensitive, the seed of separation grew along with our sensitivity. And it seemed to be almost something that we could not overcome, no matter what we did. I believe that Mother Nature has thrown up for us the crisis that will either force us or guide us to overcome, finally, at the last trump, the illusion of separateness. We didn't get it when we were told it for thousands of years. We didn't get it when individuals had it in experiences. We didn't get it when small groups had it in experiences because we fought over it. It's mine, it's yours, mine is better than yours. What's happened now through the environmental crisis is that Mother Earth is throwing a signal to every member of her body, most particularly the human members of her body, that they will either collectively and quickly in our generation experience that connectedness, or they will be sloughed off in some way. And the beauty of this crisis from the point of view of the whole thrust of human history is that it is scientifically verifiable. It is not a matter of opinion. It cannot be labeled north, south, east, west, conservative, liberal, communist, capitalist. It is the crisis of our environment that is now actually flooding the consciousness of each member of the human race, that we must reestablish that connectedness and learn how to cooperate and co-create with nature. Now, there's another fundamental newness that's happening with the environmental crisis, which we've seen as a problem, but I think it's an enormous possibility. We know that we cannot go on populating at this rate even one more generation. One more doubling and the human race overpopulates the planet. What this means is that en masse, millions and millions and eventually billions of women and men will have energy that has been invested in the energy to create, to procreate the species, will be available for creativity, will be available from procreation to co-creation. The creative energy of the human race that has been expressed through having our children, maintaining life and dying young, is blossoming en masse throughout human culture, especially in the developed world, which I think is precisely the resource needed to understand, to love, and to act together through our hearts on behalf of this world. Our generation is flooded with energy of creativity, and that is the energy of love. It's not merely the energy of professionalism or getting a good job or getting ahead. It's the passion that went into reproducing the species, is activating in us our genius. And Elizabeth verified this for me the last time I said it when we were in Malibu together. When we reproduce the species, we join genes to create a new being. When we co-create, we join genius to create the works, the acts, and the gifts needed by Gaia, by Mother Earth, by the whole human race now. That genius is attracted to join. And what I'd like to say here about that is, while we are learning the nature of the ecology of our environment on the physical level, something equally important but much less attended to is concurrently emerging, which is a social ecology, an understanding of new social forms through which we can join genius, join our hearts, join our spirits in such a way that the forms enhance the love rather than destroy it. And when you look at human society, almost every social structure is based on the illusion of separateness, which has been the fatal flaw. Our nation states are based on the illusion of separateness. Our separate religions are based on the illusion of separateness. Our competitive society in the West is based on the illusion of separateness. So what happens when your genius gets what I call vocational arousal, and you really want to join in love to create, where do you go? School? General Motors? The government? The slots? The niches? There's no social niches for us to totally be who we are, except at conferences like these, at workshops, and in something that we're calling core groups. Now, a core group, and there are many varieties of these, they're probably, Elizabeth, like very early cells of new life. A core group is where individuals join through their hearts to support one another totally in being who they are, in resonance, to actualize their genius in work for the world. I believe these new social cores that we'll be having an opportunity to experience here are new social life forms which can contain the genius which is being liberated through the environmental crisis and through eventually stopping all this overgrowth and overpopulation. So in conclusion, we can look upon this conference as a microcosm of new social form. It has been quite interesting as I've been observing it from a distance, meeting with Abelardo, meeting with Marion, the openness with which the organizers of this have held it so that we would have an opportunity to self-organize. And it's a bit scary, because what if we don't? What if we fall into chaos rather than cosmos? What if the illusion of separateness is more powerful than the desire to join our genius? We can experiment with this here because the organizers of the conference have opened it up. There will be the opportunity for you to experience core groups. And in each of the hotels, the Costa Rica and the Europa, there will be a sign-up sheet at the desk. And if any of you are interested in experience small group process which allows you to express your genius in this way, please sign up in your hotel and you will be notified in which hotel rooms these small meetings may be. In the work groups that will be designed, when you meet with others, think of yourself as inventing the social forms to truly express the genius that we are. And then let's imagine for a moment multiple cells, multi-human cellular formation that enhances the uniqueness of each member without dominating or submitting to one another. Linking core to core to core in organic, functional units within the body politic. And I think what we will discover is that we are builders of the new civilization through forming ourselves in such a way that we model the change that we choose to see in the world. The way we change the world is by being the change. Let us be the change we'd like to see in the world here in Costa Rica, which has welcomed us. Thank you.
We are now going to enjoy Molly Scott, who will be singing for us. She will be singing 3 songs. The first is entitled Mist Upon the Mountain, then From a Distance, and then We Are All One Planet. Please join me in welcoming Molly Scott.
I'd like to welcome the rain. I'm going to ask you to join me in some of this music so that we can meld ourselves together and tune ourselves. And this first song, Mist Upon the Mountains, was written by a very young person who's no longer so young. But she wrote it when she was 15 years old. And I wanted to tell you that because it represents for me that current which is rising through us and through the people who are younger than us, younger than me. I'll invite you to join me at certain parts of this. And like a mist upon the mountains, people, we are rising, and there's no hope stronger than the mist upon the sea, and the strength in the hearts of those who are wounded. We will keep on rising until we are free. There is hope in the morning, the memory of the twilight. There is hope in the rolling song of dawn. There are those who dance not and those who are not free. So we must dance twice as long, twice as hard, twice as deep, until we all dance free. And like a mist upon the mountains, people, we are rising, and there's no hope stronger than the mist upon the sea, and the strength in the hearts of those who are wounded. We will keep on rising until we are free. We will keep on rising until we are free. Thank you. That song was written by Jody Lester, and this one is by Julie Gold. You may be familiar with it in a different version. It comes from that vision that you talked about, Barbara, about seeing from a distance. It's called From a Distance. But this is that distance that Russell Schweikart wrote about when he described going out from the spaceship and looking back and seeing this tiny planet, not up close, but far away, like a little Christmas tree ornament. And he said, and on this little tiny planet, this blue-green planet that you could cover with your thumb, is everything that means anything to you. All hope and art and culture and love and dying and faith, all of it. And that little teeny planet that you could cover with your thumb. And this song is From a Distance. From a distance, the world looks blue and green, and the snow-capped mountains white. From a distance, the ocean meets the stream, and the eagle takes to flight. From a distance, there is harmony, and it echoes through the land. It's the song of hope, it's the song of peace, it's the song of everyone. From a distance, we all have enough, and no one is in need. There are no guns, no bombs, and no disease, no hungry mouths to feed. From a distance, we are instruments marching in a common band, playing songs of love, playing songs of hope. They're the songs of everyone. God is watching us. God is watching us. God is watching us from a distance. Would you sing that with me? God is watching us. God is watching us. God is watching us from a distance. From a distance, you look like my friend, even though we are at war. From a distance, I can't comprehend what all this war is for. From a distance, we are instruments marching in a common band, singing songs of hope, singing songs of love. They're the songs of everyone. God is watching us. God is watching us. God is watching us, and there's no distance. I paraphrased the ending there a little. This is a song called All One Planet, in which I hope you will join me in which. I'll sing the chorus for you several times and you can pick it up. Let me tell you the words. The words are, we are all one planet, all one people of Earth, all one planet, sharing our living, our dying, our birth. And we won't stand by watching her die, hearing her cry and deny. We live as she lives, we die as she dies. We are all one planet, all one people of Earth, all one planet, sharing our living, our dying, our birth, and we won't stand by watching her die, hearing her cry and deny. We live as she lives, we die as she dies. I wrote this song for people to sing. If you feel you can't sing, just open your mouth and let some kind of sound come out. And forget what people told you couldn't sing, forget it. And just go la 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 if you don't know the words. We are all one planet, all one people of Earth, all one planet, sharing our living, our dying, our birth, and we won't stand by watching her die, hearing her cry and deny. We live as she lives, we die as she dies. So many ways to divide us, so many ways to build boundaries and walls, systems we set up to hide us, neighborhoods, nations, ignoring the call of the beings who live outside of the boundaries, inside of the skins that are different from ours, creatures whose eyes reflect the same skies and water. of the things we love. Remember the ones we love. Open our minds, our hearts, and our hands, and trust when we don't understand. We are all one planet, all one people of Earth, all one planet, sharing our living, our dying, our birth, and we won't stand by watching her die, hearing her cry and deny. We live as she lives, we die as she dies. Let me just hear you. We are and we won't stand by watching her die, hearing her cry and deny. We live as she lives, we die as she dies. We are all one planet, all one people of Earth, all one planet, sharing our living, our dying, our birth, and we won't stand by watching her die, hearing her cry and deny. We live as she lives, we die as she dies. Stay there for just one moment. It's a good position to be in, isn't it? Open your palms like this. Now bring them down. And I'm going to share with you a grace and invocation that has gone around the world many times, and some of you probably know it. It's a signing. It goes, I offer you peace. I offer you peace. I offer you friendship. I offer you love. I hear your needs. I see your beauty. I feel your feelings. My wisdom comes from a higher source. I salute that source in you. Let us work together. I offer you peace. I offer you friendship. I offer you love. I hear your needs. I see your beauty. I feel your feelings. My wisdom comes from a higher source. I salute that source in you. Let us work together.
Par excellence. Rama is a yogi. She's a spiritual warrior. In my mind, she's one of a handful of people who has truly come to my mind when I think of Rama are courageous, committed, and citizen diplomat par excellence. Rama is a yogi. She's a spiritual warrior. In my mind, she's one of a handful of people who has truly opened the way for dialogue between Soviets and Americans at all levels. As a housewife, yoga teacher, the founder of Unity in Yoga, a mother and a grandmother, Rama truly began to activate her life purpose in 1984 when she attended a luncheon that was a dialogue between Soviets and Americans, and she realized, to her despair, that there was no dialogue going on. They were not able to talk to one another. And she realized that she was filled with fear. She was terrified. And it was very disconcerting to her because she knew, as an American, if she felt this way, then many Americans must also feel this way. And the difference about Rama is she committed to doing something about it. She founded the Center for Soviet-American Dialogue, and she began to take Americans to the Soviet Union. She has now taken over 30 groups of people to the Soviet Union and introduced hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people to the Soviets. She knows Soviets at the heart level, at all levels, and she has introduced hundreds of Americans to these Soviets. She has gained the respect and the love of the Soviet people to the degree that when they were coming for the Gorbachev-Reagan summit, the Central Committee asked her to help bring the Soviets here. Along with Barbara Hubbard, in February of 1988, she directed the very successful Soviet-American Citizen Summit in Washington, D.C., and is currently planning that follow-up in Moscow in October of this year. It is with the greatest love and respect that I ask you to help me welcome Rama Vernon.
That introduction is a difficult act to follow. When the heart is full, the mouth seems to be empty. As I looked over the group tonight, I realized that so many of you here are people that have traveled with me to the Soviet Union, are people who participated in our Soviet American Citizen Summit, which led to the formation of now over 100 active projects that include major projects. For the first time, we are told, because of that summit, Soviets and Americans, the Kremlin and the United States government are for the first time meeting to discuss the solutions to international terrorism. We are told that as a result of the summit, for the first time, there has been a Soviet-American Council for Human Rights that has formed to look at finding solutions together. There are many other major projects. One other major project that came out of the summit, which Barbara and I co-created together, was the formation of the first Soviet-American Peace Corps that is backed by President Carter, and their first project is the rebuilding of the city of Leninakon that was destroyed by the earthquake in Soviet Armenia. These are just some of the many projects that came out of our co-creative efforts together. When I first went to the Soviet Union 5 years ago, I never thought at that time that I would be called to do this work. As Marian so beautifully said, I am a mother. As Barbara is a mother, we both have 5 children each, and my children range in ages from 30 years old to 3 years old. And it's the last thing in the world I ever thought I would be doing. But when I saw that there was no dialogue, I realized that I, as an ordinary individual citizen, had to give part of my life to world peace. I had spent 30 years yoga, meditation, seeking the meaning of peace from within. And I felt that as long as we could find that inner peace, it was enough for the world, and that we could radiate that peace out from our own center within. But alack and alas, I found that I was called upon to step out of my meditation closet and into the world. And I said at that time I would give 1 year of my life to world peace. And that was 5 years ago. That 5 years ago, I was also invited by a representative of the United Nations University for Peace to come to Costa Rica to bring the yoga teachers, the spiritual leaders of the conferences which I had been organizing at that time, to come here and create a field of love, of peacefulness, of harmony that could radiate out like the rays of a sun to all parts of Central America. And it was at that time I had the ticket in hand, and I went to Washington, D.C. to give a proposal to the Soviets, not thinking that they would ever accept it. It was a new format, a new way of meeting, of foreigners to meet with the Soviets that would allow for dialogue from citizen to officials, because we, the people in our country, eventually do have the power to make changes, whether we realize it or not. But in the Soviet Union, the people did not have the power to make changes. So I felt, since our governments were not talking in the time before Gorbachev, and we refer to it now as BG and AG, and it's a different world over there right now. I just returned from my 31st visit. We felt that if we could bring the citizens of the United States and other parts of the world together with the Soviet officials in decision-making positions, that perhaps we could create the dialogue that was not happening. And it's been a very long and arduous journey, a journey not so much in the outer world, but if we really think what it means to seek the true meaning of peace, for many of us, it became our own inner spiritual journey. For to make changes around us, we must first make changes within us. And I had the good fortune with some of our board members to be in the Kremlin last June, meeting with Gorbachev in a special 3-hour meeting that was held for leaders of peace groups from throughout the world. It was just after President Reagan left, and Gorbachev was going to give us his synopsis of the summit before it was given to the news media. It was an unprecedented event, and we were in the Kremlin, and at that time I heard Gorbachev say himself, perestroika, which means transformation, restructuring, begins not in the periphery of society, but it begins within. It begins within the human heart. It begins with the individual. It was with these principles that I stepped forth across the barbed wire borders as a citizen diplomat and brought over 1,000 citizen diplomats to the Soviet Union. And in this venture, I'd like to share with you what I have discovered is the definition, if we could say there is a definition, of a citizen diplomat. A citizen diplomat is a world citizen. It is one who has, or whose vision has transcended his or her own personal, religious, ideological, political boundaries to reach out and embrace the oneness of all of humanity and to understand true human unity. As Barbara spoke of the illusion of separation, a citizen diplomat is one who bridges the gaps of separation through his or her own consciousness, through his or her own love, through his or her own heart. It is one who can see the essence of all beings in every country of this world and to know that we truly are one. A citizen diplomat is one who can empathize with the perspectives of another without denying his or her own values. It is one who can see the differences and discriminately see the differences, but without comparing those differences, which then is a form of judgment. It is one who feels the essence of forgiveness and forgiving others for having even judged them. And it is one who exemplifies that not only in the nations of in other countries, but those who can put that into practice within his or her own nation, with the leaders of his or her own government, and more importantly, to those within our own lives, to those within our own home, seeing the microcosmic family as a replica of the macrocosm, and just in turn as seeing the macrocosm as a replica of what is happening in the microcosm of our own lives. I'd like to share with you a quote that Mother Teresa, when I met her and she blessed our work, she said it had really broken new grounds in the Soviet Union, that we were able to move into areas that others had not been able to go. And she said she felt it was the power of love. And many years ago, when I began this work, the FBI in America asked me to come and address 50 of their agents. And they laughed at the idea that perhaps love could make a difference. And now, 5 years later, after they saw the effects of the Citizen Summit and the major projects that now are happening that are having worldwide impact, they said to me, they said, "We don't believe it. It worked." And then they said, "Do you realize that all of you, as citizens, you are doing more for the world. You are doing more for Soviet-American relations than our own government." Now, we can relate this to the East-West issues. And as Barbara said, it's really going beyond. The issues facing us today go beyond the East-West, North-South issues. But in citizen diplomacy, we have even said, as a citizen diplomat is one who holds two or more points of view simultaneously. We see that we actually relate this to the anthropological differences of the Soviet Union and the United States. The Soviet Union is described as a very high context culture, as many cultures are in the world. And the United States is a very low context culture. And what this means is that in the Soviet Union, the setting, the context, like we were all sitting in right now, is far more important than the words that are being said. And in the United States of America, we find that, as being a low context-oriented society, that our words are more important than the context in which the message is being conveyed. We want immediate action, immediate initiatives. And we find that in the Soviet Union, the people have a little more patience. They sit back and say, now let's look at the whole scope of history. Let's look at the hologram of this before we break everything down into its component parts. And so we've related these two hemispheres of the planet to the hemispheres of the human brain. The right, the spatial, the feminine, the receptive, and the left, more of the logical, the action, the projective, that breaks every issue down into the component parts. And we relate the citizen diplomat to the corpus callosum that joins the two hemispheres, that goes between the East and the West. And just as we speak of this balancing of the East and West, we say, and if we could balance the pole of the body between the North, the crown of the head,
if we could balance these poles upon this planet, Mother Gaia, perhaps, just perhaps, we could bring the entire planetary nervous system into alignment, into harmonious alignment. And I feel that this is, in a way, all of our roles, and it is no accident that we have all converged here at this time, at this place. And it's very similar to our Citizen Summit, as Barbara knows, where we had 550 Americans meeting with 100 Soviets. And we have nearly the same amount of people that have come from throughout the world to meet here at this time in this place. And as we, this week, seek the true meaning of peace, both within and without, I truly feel that we are all like the rays of the sun, and that the effects of this week will have tremendous impact, reverberating throughout the entire planet, not just through Central America, but through the entire world. And my deepest thanks to all of the organizers and all of the participants and each one of you for coming here at this time, because, as we have found with our work with the Soviets, as citizens of the world, of the planet, we can and we are making a difference. Thank you.
I would now like to introduce our next 4 presentations at once, so there will be a continuity and we won't be interrupting them. The first person to present will be Judith Tripp, who will be doing a meditative ceremony with us, followed by Jerry Lennon, which is an audio-visual presentation entitled The Song of Mother Earth. Then Baroness Edme de Pauli from England will be leading a meditation for the planet, followed by a cello player by the name of Guillermo Cano, who will be doing an aria of the suite in D major by Johann Sebastian Bach. So will you join me in welcoming Judith Tripp, Jerry Lennon, Edme de Pauli, and Guillermo Cano.
Oh, it's so wonderful to be here and to see you all. I've been dreaming of this conference now for a little over a year and feel just so wonderful to be here. I've had a lot of thought and a lot of dreams about what this is all about. And part of what I'd like to share with you tonight is essentially a dream I've had of us all being in circles together, all of us all over the planet. And not just us particular two-legged beings, but the rest of the beings also who share the space with us. And as I've listened to all the other women who've spoken this evening, I find a great resonance with what I want to share with you. I feel like what the gift I want to give is to allow us to take the ideas and the feelings we've had and bring them very deeply within our souls and within our bodies, so that we can feel this and take it with us throughout all the days of the conference and beyond. That we realize that we're here as representatives, as particular cells of Gaia's being who happen to be here aware and generating energy. And that in fact we have a gift to give to the whole globe. So what I'd like to share with you is a guided meditation that will take us from an attunement with our own individual hearts to an attunement with the other beings in the room with us right now, and onward in our imagination to drawing other beings who are not here with us but are here in spirit, ancient beings who've been here on this planet for millennia, who have felt the same stirring and the same desire for healing that we feel here, and also to the other creatures of the earth. Now, in order to do this logistically, I would like you all to stand. And to stand in such a way that if you wanted to, you could touch another person next to you. But at this moment, just stand by yourself.
And what we're going to do really is something that we're going to be doing all week. We start out in rows, don't we? All coming from our own separate places. And what we're going to be doing this whole week, and what we're already beginning now, is really forming the circular consciousness, the consciousness of interconnectivity, which is the reality of our life here, a reality we sometimes forget. So I'd like to just duplicate that process now and invite you all to use your imaginations as much as possible to see us all standing in a circle, perhaps a circle outdoors, feet planted on the ground. And the first part of this is I'd like to play with the energy of this room. I'd like to play my flute. And in order to do that, I'll give you a note, which I'd like you to ohm with. And you can be my drone, and I'll play with it for a while. And use this as an opportunity to really come into your breathing, to come into your body, come into your heart. Feel the energy flowing, connecting the heavenly realms and the earthly realms, generating and receiving the energy that flows through us. And also balancing energy from the left and right. So here's a note for you. And just Om can keep this up as I play with you. And as you let the Om fade and go out into the universe, allow your eyes to close. And begin to allow yourself just to watch the breath as it comes and goes. Focusing first on the breath as it enters your body, and centering yourself as a receiver. Feeling yourself as a great feminine principle of receptivity, receiving the life force into your being as you receive the breath, so that on each in-breath you take, you feel yourself in every cell in your body as a receiver. And with each out-breath, allow yourself to feel the principle of giving, of coming out from yourself, giving out into the universe. So that with every breath you take, you begin to allow this consciousness of the interplay of receiving and giving to be in your consciousness. Each breath allowing the love of life into your heart, and allowing the love and light out, giving over to the universe. Just feeling that, giving yourself the gift of opening your heart and mind and body and soul to the process of giving and receiving that is life itself. And for a moment, just imagine what it would be like to include the energy of those standing next to you in this breathing in process and breathing out process.
And as you're ready, allow yourself to let your hands find the hands of the people next to you. And as those hands find each other, continue the process. Allow yourself to breathe in now the energy of the people next to you. And with each breath, allow yourself to expand a bit larger to include more people in the room, so that you're receiving, breathing in the energy of those around you, and giving out your light, your love, into the circle we are beginning to form here. And allow whatever picture of that circle that you may have to come to mind. Allow yourself to begin to feel the particular incredible energy that this circle of people bring. Feeling the pulls from each direction on the planet, feeling our commonality in our hands, in our breath, in our hearts. Allowing yourself to fully experience now the energy of this entire room, the particular circle of this conference. Breathing in the beautiful, unique gifts of each individual in this room, and breathing out into the room your own particular, unique, and beautiful gifts.
And now allow yourself to imagine that standing behind us, around us, is another circle. And in this circle, standing hand in hand, just as we are the beings that we all love, some of whom who are here in our hearts, others who are far away. And for a moment, allow yourself to reflect on the names of these beings, the ones you said you would bring here in spirit, and see their faces, see them holding hands in a circle behind us, embracing us, supporting us. And as you do, breathe that circle into our midst here, into our hearts, and into your own individual heart. So that this circle just behind us includes many more beings also in this moment, experiencing the interconnectedness of holding hands together, standing in a circle. Their energy and support. And as you breathe in their energy and support and their reality. And as you breathe out the gift of your awareness of their presence and the gift of life to them. And now just beyond that circle, imagine, if you will, a circle of the other beings, representatives of other people on the planet who need to be here. Let your mind give you a picture of them standing just beyond the second circle. Again, holding hands, making real the interconnectedness that we know exists. And breathe this circle also into your heart. Make it part of you. And then allow also on the out-breath to give out the gift of your awareness and heart. Breathing in now these circles of beings joined together, holding the principle of interconnectedness. And now beyond that circle, allow yourself to see a circle of the ancient ones who for time immemorial have stood together, listening to the story of Gaia, feeling the meaning of peace as they stood together, brothers and sisters,
hands interlocked. See the ancient ones around us. Feel their presence here with us as they'll be here for the conference. Feel their blessing as they stand again in another circle around us. And beyond the ancient ones, see a circle now of all the other beings on earth, the ones that walk on four legs, the winged ones, the ones who swim in the sea, the ones who crawl on the land. All those beings standing paw and paw, wing and wing, fin and fin, also joining here. Let yourself breathe in their energy, their interconnectedness, and breathe out our joy and interconnectedness with them. Again, breathing in into your own heart, funneling through your body, feeling the energy flowing, and breathing out the love of your awareness and your beingness in this particular place and time, knowing in your heart the interconnectedness we all live with. And beyond the creatures, yet another circle, a circle of the beings of light, circle of the ones who've been waiting so long for us to join together. And they stand in a circle, arm in arm, hand in hand, and a beautiful blue light surrounds them. And they funnel their energy into us, bathing us all, giving gratitude to us all for being here and seeing. We ask you, beings, ancient ones, being of all directions, beings in the north, give us your wisdom. Let us remember our minds in this conference. Walk with us in beauty. And beings in the west, ancient ones, ones who watch over us, beings who know about the depth of feeling and dreaming that humans can hold for them. Please be with us. Give us dreams and deep feelings about our time here together. Be with us and walk with us in beauty. And beings in the south, ancient ones, grandmothers and grandfathers, remind us of the simple things. Remind us of our child selves who come with trust and innocence to new experience. Be with us in this time, in this conference. Be with us in beauty. And beings in the east, ancient ones, winged ones, ones who see far. Bring us your vision. Be with us so we stretch our most intuitive and spiritual natures to the heights as we discover the true meaning of peace here. Be with us in beauty. And as we stand in these circles, feeling this energy bathing us, interconnecting all the circles together, let us look to the center of the circle. Let us look to our deepest feeling, our deepest loving sense of our wholeness. And however that looks to you, see it. See it shining. See it bathed in the light of our own beings. See it bathed in the light of the energy that flows through us, bathed in the light of all the circles. And allow yourself now to take this vision with you this week, to remember that we stand here for all beings on the planet, and that what we learn here and know here will be given to us all. And remember too that it all comes into your heart as you begin
to tune now more back into your own place, into your own heart, knowing that it's important to have this space also to go out from, to have the individual love and the giving love. A blessing on us all in this conference. Blessed be. I thank you all.
Many years I've had the assignment of communicating love and compassion, and it is a great honor. Once, you can leave them up a wee bit, Alberto. Un poquito. It's all right. I'll find it with God's eyes somehow. My heart calling. Remember the golden days, the joy of spring, the glory of my beloved creatures. Hear me. Hear me. Oh, I long to be heard. Remember my flower, my dolphin, my baby seal, my fish, my glorious living sea. Stop the endless march of time. Hold my creatures in your heart. Cuddle my babies tenderly, for they walk quietly upon me beside you. You are partners in glory. Honor your part to play. Come again to the garden. Embrace my beauty. Hold me tenderly. For I have loved you deeply, my children. Hold me now. The still, small moments before dawn. Can you hear me calling? Remember. the gentleness of a meadow, the sparkling abandon. Can you return to innocence? Can you love one another in sacred space? Hold each other tenderly. Now. There is no more time. This is the last moment of choice. Celebrate the child. The hidden splendor you've forgotten long ago. You were all little persons once. Now be children again. Sing, dance, cuddle yourselves. Love like in a new morning. You are but brief upon this planet. Come. Fly away with me. From the north, my children, lay down your arms. From the south, my brothers and sisters, lay down your arms. From the four corners of my beloved earth, lay down your arms. Come to my breast, little ones. I will hold you now. Let no man, no thing, no circumstance come between yourselves and the peace of God. Now,
dream of a day when we can live without anger. And dream of a time when we can live without pain. And dream of a way that we can live without hunger. And dream of a sign that the earth can be peaceful again. What can we do to get our people looking higher? What do you do in the darkness but look for the light? We can join hands and do whatever we desire. We'll never fail as long as the reasons are right. We're gonna live in peace. It's our only chance on earth. Get all that fighting to cease. And remember what love. Each of us has the power to bring about changes. Though society separates us from the time of our birth, well, we won't live here much longer if we live as strangers. And no time at all if we don't learn how to live with the earth. Combining our efforts instead of being parted. Sharing a vision that we will have a new dawn. Remember that love is how it all got started. And don't you know that love will keep it going even after we're gone? What can we give the earth that we haven't given in the past? A way to live here on earth, make it last and last and dream of a day when we can live in communion. And dream of a time when we can live without fear. Awaken a way to get all of us working together. And know that the time when the earth can be peaceful is near. And know that our thoughts and our actions are honest and clear.
thousands of people are watching this conference, expecting, hoping to get a clear guidance from it to solve our problems of the ecology for this planet and the spiritual crisis. When we expect something, to receive something, we also know there's a law that we have first to give. So let us now give by sending out God's love, light, and peace over the world. I shall begin by a squad time for preparing ourselves. And when it comes to sending out the love and light, I will ask you to stand up and to turn around facing the walls of this room so that after my saying the words, you can send the light out in all directions over the world. And I would like you, for the first 5 rows at the back, to face the back wall, and for the first 5 rows to face this wall, and for this left side to face this wall, and for the right side to face this wall, so that your audible breath can go right over the world, like the rays of the sun, sending out the love and light and peace. So let us now prepare ourselves for doing this service to the world. Now I think when I have said I will ask you to stand up, we'll first prepare ourselves. Can we have the music now, please? Visualize yourself standing in a purple flame for purification, to burn away all dross, all personal desires, all personal ambitions, and make yourself a clean instrument for sending out God's love, light, and peace over the world.